Showbiz and Lee Drew on 97.7 FM.
I dare say my next guest is best known to my audience for Denim and Lace. 1975-ish or thereabouts. A great legend. Legends of the Southern Land, music of the 60s, 70s and 80s, is on its way into Melbourne. Marty Roan, along with a star-studded cast, are bringing that locally April through to July. 50 years in the business, Marty Roan is still doing it. Marty's not just a singer. I wonder how many of us really realise that he's a famous actor. He's acted with some of the world's best actors, Yul Brynner being one of those. He was in The King and I in England, doing that in London. Well, I've got him on the line now, and without me telling you his story, I'm sure he can do that for us, and he's going to join us as a special guest now. Great to have you with us. How are you, Marty?
I'm very well, Lee, and it's great to be with you and your listeners.
Thank you very, very much for taking that time out to come and talk to us. As I just said there in the intro, if you copped it, Denim and Lace, yes, we remember you for all those wonderful hits that you had back in the 70s. But, of course, your life didn't just revolve around that. You were a very famous actor.
Well, I did two television series in the 70s, which was Class of 75 on the 7 Network, and also Number 96, the infamous or famous Number 96 on the 10 Network.
Yes.
Thankfully, or fortunately, I never got to get my gear off.
All right. Well, whichever way.
Yeah.
But that was groundbreaking stuff in those days.
Oh, it was hugely groundbreaking. I mean, people probably forget that Number 96 was the first to have full frontal nudity on television.
That's
you
right.
couldn't do that today.
No, of course you couldn't. No.
You wouldn't get away with it.
No.
And it also had the first gay-male relationship.
Yes.
First series, I think, anywhere in the world that had two men sharing a bed and sharing a relationship. And
Yeah.
It was hugely controversial, and I think it just shows you that we've gone full cycle. We've come back. We've become very prudish.
Well, I think we have, yes. And why is that so? Why have we turned that way after that sexual revolution? I was just talking to Rob Mills at the opening of the program about that sexual revolution we've had. And back in the 60s and 70s, everything was changing, wasn't it? And then suddenly we've gone back the other way.
We have. We've almost gone back to, I guess, without making it, probably this is not as extreme as this, but we've virtually gone back to a lot of 1950s attitudes.
I think you're right.
Look, I think it's also partly because I think social media has created a lot of problems. I mean, it's a great thing. I love social media. But I think, and I think the internet has created a lot of problems where people now are a lot more exposed, if you like, to use the word, and can be infiltrated in a way that this has never happened before. And I think that the result has been probably an overreaction to many social attitudes, to the point where we didn't seem to have a problem with our bodies or our attitudes back in the 70s. As you said, it was the sexual revolution, the 60s and the 70s, which we both came through.
That's right.
But now today, everybody is very, very careful. And in many ways, you have to be. But I think it's also, in a lot of ways, narrowed our attitudes as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think a lot of it's got to do with political correctness too these days.
Oh, it has. It has got a lot to do with political correctness. You can't say anything, and you can't do anything, and you can't look sideways at anyone for fear that somebody will slap something on you. So I think there needs to be a balance. I think there needs to be something maybe in between.
Yes, I think you're right. We've got to get that in-between spot there because no matter, as you said, you're frightened of saying something, you're frightened of saying something wrong, but so many of us, like you and me today talking, we think the same, but we're afraid to go and say it.
Absolutely right, because if you do say it, and that's the problem, excuse me, I think with with social media is that the whole world knows about it, or if not the whole world, and a lot of people hear about it.
Yes,
and
yes.
So therefore we become very guarded, and we become very cautious about what we say. And if you take it to the absolute extreme, politicians become fearful of making a freaking decision.
Yeah, of course. Well, in your career, of course, you've done acting and singing. I think you're still acting too, as well as singing and doing all sorts of things. But Holy War was there, Snowman, Marble. I marvelled at the way that you've got this mastery of accents. You were very, very clever. I looked online, and the way you can take off an accent is phenomenal. Did you have to learn to do that, or you become a natural at it?
I think where it came from, Lee, is when I was a kid. I was an only child for about 10 years before my younger brother and sister came along, and we were living in Darwin. And I had a lot of time to myself because my father was working 2 jobs, so I didn't see a great deal of my father, and my mother used to, have things to do. And so therefore I spent a lot of time on my own. I spent a lot of time amusing myself, and I started to pick up this knack of doing accents, not just, foreign accents, but also doing cartoon accents as well, all that sort of thing. And so therefore I've carried it over into my acting, which allows me to play characters from East European to Asian to American to British, which is a great asset for an actor.
Yeah, my word. And when I looked at that online and saw all those accents and your portrayal of various characters, they were just so believable. They were just fantastic. Tell us about the current show, Legends of the Southern Land. Now, you've got a lot of guys coming in here with you. We've got Ray Burgess, you've got Tommy Emmanuel, Johnson Peters. There's some fantastic names that you must have known for years and decades.
We all grew up in the Countdown days.
That's right.
What people probably don't realise is that Ray Burgess compared the first ever Countdown before Molly came along. Johnson Peters hosted Countdown more than anyone else. You've got Tommy Emmanuel, when he was with Dragon, appeared on Countdown. And you've got John Swanee Swan, who made a lot of appearances on Countdown. Of course, Swanee is Jimmy Barnes's brother. And had big hits with If I Were a Carpenter and Lady What's Your Name and Temporary Heartache. So to get together with all these guys on this tour, and I want to point out from the outset that the title of the tour, Legends of the Southern Land, is not a reference to us. The title of Legends of the Southern Land came from a CD and DVD that was written by Johnson Peters and a very talented young Melbourne musician called Michael Yule, who wanted to create a new Aussie anthem. And the Legends in the title refers to every Australian that has ever contributed to this country. The great, all of those great sporting legends and people of the past and the Nellie Melbas and all of those who've made this country what it is today. But it also refers to the farmer that gets up at 3:30 a.m. in the morning and goes out and milks the cows so that they can get to the market so you have your milk.
Yeah.
It's all about the Australians that have made this country great, and a song has been written about it, and that's the banner under which we're going out.
Well, you've got a good cast there. It's going to be wonderful to go back and relive that. I'm going to say the baby boomers, of which you and I are baby boomers, they identify so much with you guys, and you were our idols in these days growing up, and we grew up together. But, you were just there, you were singing these songs, we were rocking along with these, and it was a very special time of our lives in the 70s.
It was, yeah. Music is the soundtrack of our lives.
Absolutely.
It's a famous quote. And another great thing about being part of this show is that for the very first time, I think, in this country, we're going to pay tribute to some of our old mates who we shared stages with that are sadly no longer with us. And I speak of guys like Thorpe, Doc Neeson from the Angels, Mark Hunter from Dragon, who we shared our first Countdown appearance with, and Jim Keys from the Masters Apprentices, and Daryl Cotton from the Zoot, and we're going to do a special tribute to Stevie Wright as well.
Lovely,
for obvious reasons.
Lovely, yeah. And you're going to be supported too by James Couples from The Voice. I believe he'll be with you.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because James Couple, if people remember James on The Voice, he has got an amazing voice.
My word.
So all of us are going to have to be at our very best on the night, because that guy can sing.
Well, you're going to be at the Frankston Arts Centre on the 14th of May and the Palms on May the 7th, just prior to that, so the week before. So the Palms on the 7th.
Which is my birthday.
Oh, congratulations. Happy I won't ask your age. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday for the 7th, and we'll have to have a big cake, and I'll share it with all the audience.
Yeah, down there at the Palms. It's a great spot. I was down the Palms a couple of weeks ago to a show, and it's a wonderful venue.
It is a wonderful venue, and we're excited about doing that. We're excited about going to Frankston, and we're doing other places in Victoria like Geelong and Bendigo and Warrnambool and Shepparton. And it's great to get out because, legends of the Southern Land, those people in those areas that keep everything ticking over, they're legends in their own way.
My word they are. Mate, we're short for time, but I do thank you very, very much for your time. I'd like to catch up before the show gets down to the Palms with you again and just have another chat to you and perhaps even have you live in the studio. Who knows what might happen in the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Well, I'd be more than happy to come in, Lee, and it's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Marty, great to talk to you, pal. All the best for the show, and I know it's going to be a wonderful success. Thank you very, very much for your time today.